I wanted to do a quick, low budget, on the fly demonstration of how to convert multiple queries into one query. In SQL Server, this would be a CTE query, but with Access, it might be a different way to do it. So, for example, here I've got this query, and when I open it up, this is based on all other tables except for this one other query that it runs. And I have a add-in I can use to help me visualize this, Query Explorer. So this other query that's embedded inside here is also dependent on other tables without any other queries. So it's pretty straightforward. It's all query based. And if I could turn this into a CTE right here, then I could have this as one SQL statement, and it's not dependent on any forms or variables or anything inside Access. So this would be a good candidate to convert into a pass-through query. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up an add-in that I created. It's called Merge Dependent Query at Derived Table. So I'm going to find that query, B50. This one doesn't have the search in it. QUSR tools on lateral. Okay, B50. So this is the SQL for that query. And if I hit this button, it's going to find all the query objects, all the words in there match a query object that's in my database. Is basically what it does. It finds that. That's the query for that. Now I can keep it as the same name, and I can hit this button right here. And now it's just created. I go into Notepad and turn that to SQL. You can see right here it's turned it into a CTE. So it says with that as, and then wherever this matches at the end is right there. And then there's the original query. So the original query really never changed because it's referring to this query here, which is actually defined above as a CTE. Now there's an alternate way which I could have created that, and that is instead of creating it as a CTE, I could have created it as a derived table, which was the original way I created this utility. And if I go over here, now there's no CTE here. What it's done is at the place where it used to refer to query demand all, it now has that embedded, which is kind of huge here. I'll indent it all here. That with this at the end of it is going to make an alias of all of this, with which Access will support that, and SQL Server will support that, but it's not as pretty. It's a little harder to debug. So the CTE is a better method. So I'll show you how this can work on a more complicated query. And I'll clear everything, and I've got another query that is dependent on 5 other queries, and I want to turn this into a CTE. So what I'll do is QUSR POC count by tool. So that's the original query. I'm going to tell it to rebuild a list of all the other objects it depends on. And unfortunately, the way I wrote this, I couldn't figure out how to have it write the width statement for the CTE a different way. So I have to start at the bottom and work my way up. It doesn't know how to push down, or I want it to be in the order from the bottom up. So I'll pick that one. I'll tell it to convert. Then this query now has a CTE. You can see the width statement right there. And I want to push that back to the top. So I hit this button. Wasn't the best icon, but that was what was available. Now it's back at the top, and then I just pick number 4, hit that, push it back to the top. 3, hit that, push back to the top. 2, hit that, push back to the top. 1, hit that, copy that. Let's go to here and let's see what we've got. In fact, I've got a hotkey I've got that will reformat that and let me know the CTE elements. So there's my beginning. You see it says prelim 1, and then it's identified there another CTE there. So that's my prelim 2, prelim 3, prelim 4. The next one is a union. I thought, oh, no, number 4 is a union. Okay. And then there's my last one. And then here's my beginning of my new query. And you can see it points back to those CTEs. So that was a really quick way to generate a SQL Server CTE compatible query. Now, one thing it didn't do is it didn't do any SQL Server stuff. So it doesn't turn double quotes into single quotes and pluses into, or ampersands into pluses. For that, I would most likely use a website that I support. It's called accessusergroups.org SQL-converter. So you can come in here, you can paste in your SQL, your Access SQL, and it will convert it into T-SQL, which it strips out. That's a whole other case. You can come play around with this website if you want to at another time. Oh, it does actually show that it converted the word last into max. So that is useful. So I'll hit copy here, and then I'm going to go into Management Studio and run this query, and you can see that it works and it's fast. It's 0 seconds it takes to run. So this query now, I can use it as a pass-through query inside Access, or I can turn it into a view in SQL Server. I'll get back to my query here. So I could just take another pass-through query, do a save as, and I'll just, for the sake of this video, I'll just call it test here. But I should be able to run this. And now that runs a lot faster than the old one. Still chugging there. I think it took like 7 seconds, but it seems like it's a little longer here. So there it is. So if you've got ideas on how to automatically convert some logic and access, I'm curious to know what other techniques there are that can be programmatically done. Thanks for watching.